And I'm recording.
Hello again, everybody. This is Larry Nickel, and I'm here with WWE Hall of Famer, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. How you doing, Hacksaw?
Well, Larry, you know the first thing old Hacksaw's got to do is give a big ho! Kind of fires me up nowadays. Gets the blood flowing, gets the hair up on the end, gets me ready to go.
Yeah,
I said everybody should start the day off with a good ho.
And the American flag.
American flag. You know, it's been my honor to carry that flag all around the world. You know, it's amazing. Of course, back in the day, folks would chant USA in Germany and England, Australia, but lately not too much, which is kind of disappointing.
Okay, when did you get your start in professional wrestling?
I started in 1979. I played my college football for Southern Methodist University down in Dallas, Texas. And I wasn't a wrestling fan at all. I didn't watch it. I'd never seen it before, and I was mainly a football player. And I met Fritz von Erich on the fluke, and he suggested I try professional wrestling, and I blew him off. I said, no, thanks, Fritz. I'll be in the NFL for 10 years. And, of course, I went to the Atlanta Falcons. We got hurt during preseason. I went up to Canada. I was playing with the Toronto Argonauts. I was an offensive lineman, you know, a dime a dozen. So I gave Fritz von Erich a call. And of course, back then, if you weren't somebody's kid, you didn't get into wrestling. Jake, second generation, Kurt Hennig, Ted DiBiase, their dad was all wrestlers. For me to come out completely cold out of wrestling and for Fritz to give me that gift, it was a huge gift for Fritz to bring me in, and I started wrestling as Big Jim Duggan.
Well, on the topic of Ted DiBiase, I interviewed him here. He said something about you and him having a multi-stipulation match in Mid-South. Can you explain that kind of match?
Sure. Well, first I'd like to say Ted DiBiase may be one of the greatest technical wrestlers in the sport, but he can't fight a lick. And when you're in there with Hacksaw, it's a fight. But no, Teddy and I, we had a loser leave town inside a steel cage with a coal miner's glove on top of a 10-foot steel pole, dressed in tuxedos. So it was a gimmick matches of gimmick matches.
And what was your first major championship that you held in wrestling overall?
I'm not really sure. That was my character. You know, I wasn't a big belt guy. You know, I don't care if I win the match, as long as I win the fight, tough guy. So I could work with Flair or anybody, get beat 1, 2, 3 in the middle, jump up, grab my 2x4, hit Flair, hit the timekeeper, chase the referee out of the ring. Ho, USA! So, yeah, I wasn't worried about winning or losing, brother.
Well,
but I did win the U.S. heavyweight title down there at WCW when I beat stunning Steve Austin so bad he had to shave his head and change his name. I beat the hair right off the boy's head.
Well,
I should get a kickback on this Stone Cold thing.
Yeah. And the last title you held in WCW was when you dug out the World Television title and you defended it.
You do know your stuff, don't you, brother? They told me you did. Yes, I was the last ever WCW television champion and the only WCW undefeated television champion because the company went out of business. But I had the belt at the time.
Yeah, also you held, correct me if I'm wrong, either the Mid-South Tag title or the UWF Tag Team title. Am I correct on that one?
I think so. I know I was the North American champ for a short time, but yeah, like I said, I don't remember the championships too much.
Besides your feud with Ted DiBiase, what other feuds did you have in wrestling overall, like WCW or WWE?
Well, the biggest feather in my cap, which everybody realizes, I know you know, who won that first ever Royal Rumble?
You did!
That's right, I was able to win the first ever Royal. That's the biggest feather in my cap. But the match I remember most is, you know, when I was a kid, I'm from a small town in upstate New York. And my dad would bring me and my sisters down to New York City, about a 200-mile drive, to see the circus at Madison Square Garden.
Yep.
So my dad, who was my best man at my wedding, to have my pop with me and drive down to New York City and pull up in front of Madison Square Garden and see Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus Andre the Giant. It was huge. I mean, to be in there with anybody would have been great to be main event at the Garden, but to be in there with Andre, it was a double whammy. And of course, no matter what profession you're in, you sell out the Garden, you sell out the Garden. We had 22,000 people in there, and Andre beat the hell out of me.
You and one of the Hall of Famer had the distinction of going to MSG. the world's most famous arena in WWE history, was WWE Hall of Famer Mick Foley.
Yeah, Mick's a little bit younger than me, man.
But you guys are still.
Oh yeah. But Mick's a different generation. You know, my generation was the golden age. Hogan, Macho Man, Jake the Snake, Andre the Giant, Junkyard Dog. You can still name 10 guys without thinking about it.
Also, who else do you have a feud with besides DiBiase and Andre the Giant? Did you have a feud with like the Heenan family?
No, not really. Of course, I beat King Harley Race for the Cape and Crown, you know, and Harley and I had a huge battle at the Slammy Awards. I don't know if you remember the Slammy Awards. Actually, Harley and I, we fought through the whole building, you know, because I won, I think, was best vocal for Ho. But anyway, King pushed me off stage, and we fought all through the building. We fought through the ticket office, through the cafeteria, through the women's dressing room, and we went into this room. There was all full of ducks and chickens and llamas and donkeys, all kinds of stuff. And me and Harley are battling away, and Harley reaches down, he grabs a chicken by the head, boom, boom, he hits me with a chicken. He killed the chicken. Oh my gosh. We had to shut down the whole show. He killed the chicken. Of course, now I have chickens. I can kind of understand, man. I wouldn't want my chicken killed.
Also, I don't want to go on this again, but what were you when you had the mask on with the C's on it?
Oh yeah, well, like I said, I broke in Texas for with Fritz von Erich, but then I went up to New York where I worked for the WWF for Vince McMahon Sr. And I was Big Jim Duggan. I had short hair and clean shaven, and I wore a long gold bathrobe to the ring, trying to dress it up a little bit, you know, a young kid. And finally, Vince McMahon Sr. and Arnie Skolin, they called me in the office. It's all cigarette smoke or cigar smoke. They're smoking their cigar like the mafia, you know. You go in there, see Vince Sr., and Vince Sr. is like, kid, you might have a future, but come up with something better than Big Jim and get rid of that gold bathrobe. So he said, we're going to send you out to learn how to wrestle. And I'm thinking, geez, you know, where in the world are you going to send me? So we're going to send you to Hawaii. Okay. So I went to Hawaii where I worked for High Chief Peter Maivia.
The Rock's grandfather.
The Rock's grandfather. So I like to say, you know, I worked with the Rock's grandfather, High Chief Peter Maivia. I worked with the Rock's dad, Rocky Johnson. And I make it to Rock and WrestleMania, tough guy. Ho! No chance in hell. But I'm over there in Hawaii and I'm wrestling, you know, established men. And they're like, kid, you know, put a mask on. You know, I was a young kid. So I put a mask on, I wrestled as the convict. And then so, you know, begin trying to think of stuff. You know, you got to come up with your own deal. I'm like, I'm the convict. What can I do with it? I got it. I put C's on my mask for the convict, you know, so I stormed down to the ring. I got my C's on my mask for the first time. And the fans were like, convict, why do you have those ears on your mask? I said, they're not ears, they're C's for the convict. So that didn't work. So then I went to Georgia Championship Wrestling. I went back to Big Jim. I went to Pensacola, I went to Wild Man Doug, and then I went to San Antonio for Joe Blanchard, Tully Blanchard's dad. And that's where I met Bruiser. Well, I met Bruiser earlier, but that's when I started working with Brody and developed the Hacksaw character. So out of 40 years, probably 36, 37, I've been Hacksaw.
That's good. One final thing. What would you tell anybody that would want to break into the professional wrestling world as a wrestler or manager?
Get golf clubs. That's where the money's at. I'll tell you, a lot easier on the body. No, but if you look at it as a business, I mean, a lot of kids want to wrestle, you know, and of course now they have a lot of wrestling all around. But if you look at it as a businessman, a way to support your family, raise your family. I tell kids there's 1,200 NFL football players playing in the NFL. There's 500 NBA basketball players playing in the NBA.
Yep.
There's 100 WWE wrestlers in the WWE. It's a television show. It's more competitive than sports. And it's just not kids from America. You got kids from Japan, Australia, Europe. Everybody wants one of those 100 spots. It's an extremely competitive business. It has nothing to do with it's real or not. It's a television show. And to get one of those 100 spots, you got to be the best in the world at what you do.
That's good. And I would like to thank Hacksaw Jim Duggan for taking the time out of his busy schedule.
My pleasure, buddy. But you know what we got to do on the way out, right? You going to give me one?
Yes, I am.
Let's go, baby. Ho! That was a good ho.
Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Perfect.